I'm just trying a screen recording of the outdoor investigation. So for the next week, we are going to do, like scientists do, the process of inquiry, but instead of doing circuits, we're going to also investigate the outside. So it basically starts with we wonder about something, we observe some things, so maybe it's a bird or ants or pollinators or bees or something like that. We ask a bunch of questions about it. What is it? What is it doing? Is it going to behave the same way tomorrow? We develop hypotheses of how things work. I'll go over that in a little bit more detail. We plan out and test our investigations. We look at our data after we come up with our tests, and we analyze and interpret that data. Then we come up with conclusions. We report it out to other scientists, and they continue that cycle, and it goes on. And in the middle of that, we reflect and rethink. So for this investigation, we're basically going to create 6 slides so we can report out our whole investigation cycle. So today what we are doing is observing and wondering. So students are going outside, they're making observations about nature, and they're asking questions. They're going to write down some observations, record weather conditions, date, time, temp, all that sort of thing. Then they're going to create some possible questions. So maybe try like 10 questions if you can. If you can't think of 10 questions, that's fine. But the more questions you have, the better, because we can narrow it down into something that we can observe and we can test. So there's like types of questions where if you say, oh, when does a robin lay their eggs? Well, that's something that you can look up. If you say like, how long is that robin going to live? We can't really answer that. We can say like, oh, are there more robins in Wisconsin than there are in Minnesota? Well, we can test that, but it's not practical for this purpose. So we're just looking for simple questions that we can test and observe, that we can measure, and that they're repeatable. So our goal for today is to create a testable question for our investigation. Later this week, we're going to come up with multiple hypotheses. So every possible testable question has like 3 basic answers. So if my question is, do robins spend more time on the ground in the morning or the afternoon? Well, one hypothesis would be robins spend more time on the ground in the morning. The other hypothesis would be robins spend more time in the ground in the afternoon. And the third hypothesis, known as the null, would mean that it doesn't make any difference. They spend about the same amount of time in the ground in the morning as in the afternoon. All right, so slide 3 is going to include 3 hypotheses. Once you have your hypotheses, hypothesis, however you say it, you're going to come up with materials and methods. So think about how you're going to collect data. What is the duration of the data? Where's the location? And then any numbers that you can come up with, that's going to be in the analysis and interpret. That's where you're going to come up with your results. How many times did you hear that bird call? How many birds did you find in this specific area? Where were these bees located? And then you're going to come up with a conclusion in your 6th slide. So you just kind of recall what you did, the purpose of the study, what did you find, what hypothesis was reported by the study, what were the uncertainties, and write down 2 new things that you learned. As well as possible new questions for other things that can be investigated. So that's basically it. Get outside and start investigating.